Hello everyone, how are you doing? I hope you're great. So I want to build a hoverboard with you. But first, let me show you how this system works. So as you can see, I'm in an open world map here and I have a hoverboard. So if I get close to this, we have the message E to enter. Of course, if I'm far away, we don't have the message. So let's enter the hoverboard so you can see. Now I'm controlling the hoverboard and it is floating as you can see. So let's go to these mountains here so I can show you this working. So this is basically what we're gonna build in this series, and as you can see, it's a pretty cool system. This is really stable, so you can move around freely, and of course if I press E again, we exit the vehicle. As you can see, in this system I will treat the hoverboard as a vehicle, so we can enter, we can move around, and of course we can exit the vehicle, as you can see. So this is what we're gonna build, but first, if you do like this video, please hit the like button and subscribe so you don't lose any new content, and don't forget to turn on the bell so you get all the notifications of new videos. And now we have members on the channel, so if you want to support me on making this video, feel free to do so. I appreciate you a lot. So without further ado, let's start. Okay, so I'm here in a third-person template in Unreal Engine 5.4, and I just organized the folders. So I have a blueprints folder with bases that has the character and game mode. We have a characters folder, input folder, level prototyping, and maps. So this is the folder's structure. And first, let's import the hoverboard model. So for that, let's go to blueprints. Here I will create a new folder. I will name this assets. Like this. Let's open this, and here I will create a new one for meshes, and then inside this another one for the hoverboard. So inside this folder I will just import the model. Okay, so I just imported the model that I created for this series. So now let's start creating the blueprint. So in this system, I will treat the hoverboard as a vehicle. So let's go back to the folders, and let me just collapse this assets folder here. Let's go to blueprints, and here I will create a new folder for vehicles like this. Let's open this folder, and here I will create a new one for hoverboard. Let's open this, and here let's create the blueprint. So right click, go to blueprint class, and because we need to control the hoverboard, let's select Palm here. So just click on Palm, and I will name this BP hoverboard. So let's open the blueprint, and first let's add a static mesh to this blueprint. So here in components, just search for static mesh. Let's get this one. I will name this SM hoverboard like this, and of course here in the static mesh let's select the hoverboard model like this. And in this system I don't need the default scene HUD, so let's make this static mesh the HUD. Just drag to the HUD like this, and there we go. Now the hoverboard is the HUD of this blueprint. Let me compile and save, and now let's add a camera to this. So for this, let's go to components here. Let's add a spring arm first. So just search for a spring arm, and inside the spring arm let's add a camera like this. So the spring arm, I will change the target arm length to 600 like this, and we need to check this use palm control rotations. Let's enable this so we can control this spring arm with the mouse, and I will put the spring arm a little bit higher like this. So let's compile and save, and now let's make the character enter in the hoverboard and exit. But before making the character enter and exit the vehicle, of course, first we need to create a way for the character detect the vehicle and communicate with the vehicle. And for that, of course, I will use an interface. So let's go back to the folders. Let's go to blueprint folder, and here I will create a new folder for the interfaces. Let's name it interfaces. Let's open this, and here I will create the interface. So right click, go to blueprint and blueprint interface. I will name this BPI for blueprint interface and vehicle. So basically every vehicle will have this interface. So let's open this interface, and let's create the first function of the interface, and this function will be enter vehicle like this. Let's compile and save, and now we just need to implement this interface in the hoverboard. But before implementing the enter vehicle function in the hoverboard, we need to create a socket for the character. So basically the socket will be the location of the character in the hoverboard. So to create the socket, just open the static mesh of the model that you are using. So for me is this hoverboard model here. And here, as you can see, we have the socket manager tab. If you don't see in this, just go to window, and here we have socket manager. So here we can add sockets to this static mesh. Just click on this plus icon here to add one. So let's add one here. And I will name this socket character seat like this. And for me, I will put the position of the socket in 94 like this. So the relative location of this socket is 94 based on the hoverboard location, right? So basically the character will snap to this location when we are inside the hoverboard, right? When we enter the hoverboard. So there we go. Now we can implement the enter vehicle function. Okay, so let's go back to the hoverboard blueprint, and first we need to add the interface so we can implement. So to do this, let's go to class settings, and here we have implemented interfaces. Let's click on add and just search for BPI vehicle, and as you can see, now we have enter vehicle function here in interfaces that we can implement. So to implement this, just double click, and as you can see, an event on the event graph was created for the enter vehicle. So basically when we call this enter vehicle, anything that we put here will happen. So now let's implement this. Okay, so first I want to have a reference to the current driver. So let's create a variable for this. So here in variables, let's add one. I will name this cur driver. So this will basically be the current driver of this hoverboard. So let's change the type of this variable to character. So let's just search for character, and let's get an object reference. So let me compile and save, and now we need to set this variable. So let's hold Alt on the keyboard and just drag the variable to create a set node like this. Let's connect the execution pin. And to get the current driver, let's get the player character. So right click and type get player character, and here we have the player character. So let's select this node and let's just connect on the cur driver like this. Let's compile and save, and now let's use this reference to put the character in the hoverboard. So we basically need to attach the character to this actor, to the hoverboard actor, at the specific location of the socket that we created. So to do this, let's right click and search for a node called attach actor to actor. So we have this here in the transformation category. So let's just click on attach actor to actor. Let's connect the execution pin, and for the target is the driver, so the character. Let's connect here in the target, and the parent actor is this class here, the hoverboard. So let's right click and search for self. So let's get a reference to self like this. Let's connect in the parent class, and as you can see, we have an option for the socket name. So here let's type character seat, and you need to type the exactly name that you typed here in the socket, otherwise this won't work, right? So now we have location rule, rotation rule, and scale rule. So for this to work, here in the location rule, let's change this to snap to target. Let's do the same for the rotation, so let's change to snap to target. But for the scale, let's put this on keep word. So just search keep word here, just put keep word here, right? And there we go. So basically now the character will follow this hoverboard and will be at this character seat location and rotation, right? Okay, so now that the character is indeed attached to this hoverboard, we need to start controlling the hoverboard. And to do this, we need the player controller to possess this hoverboard. And as you remember, this the parent class of this hoverboard is a pawn, so the player controller can possess this blueprint. So to do this, we need to get the player controller. So just right click and type get player controller let's use this node here, get player controller, and inside this node we have a function called possess. So let's just click on possess here. Let's connect the execution pin. And now we need to pass the pawn that we want to possess, and of course is this one, the hoverboard. So let's get a reference to self here, like this. Let's connect on in pawn here, and there we go. So basically now the character will be attached to this hoverboard, and the player controller will start controlling this this hoverboard class, right? So now let's just change the movement mode of the character here, of the current driver, right? So to do this, let's get a reference to the current driver. To get the reference, you just need to hold Control on the keyboard and drag the variable like this. So because this is the type of character, we can actually get the character movement component. So just search here for character movement, and as you can see here in variables we have the get character movement. So let's just click on this, and from the character movement we can change the movement mode. So let's drag from this and type set movement mode, and we have this function here in the character movement category. We have set movement mode. Let's click on this and let's connect the execution pin, and the new movement mode for the character will be flying. So just click on flying here, and there we go. Basically, now that we put flying here, the character movement component of the character blueprint will not try to put the character in the ground. So basically now the character will be able to move freely in the 3D space, right? So let's compile and save, and this is basically it. So now let's select everything here, and I will press C to add a comment, and I will comment enter vehicle. Okay, so now let's create a way to exit the hoverboard. So to do this, let's first add a location reference here so we can exit. So to do this, here in the components, I will add an arrow just to use as a location reference, and I will name this exit location like this. Let me just put somewhere close to the hoverboard, maybe here. Let me just point this down, and I will change the color to green just to organize. Let me just put this a little bit higher, and there we go. So basically this will be the location where we will put the character when we exit the hoverboard. So now let's create an input that we can press to exit the vehicle. To do this, let's go back to the folders, and here let's go to inputs, actions, and let's create a new action. So right click, go to input and input action. I will name this IA for input action and interact, like this. Now we just need to add this action on the mapping context. So again, let's go to input. Here we have the input mapping context default. So let's open this so we can add. Here we have mappings. So let's add a new mapping. Here we need to select the action. So let's select interact. And now let's expand this to select a key. So for me, I will put E on the keyboard. So you just need to click on the keyboard here and press the key that you want. So for me is E. Now let's save, and let's close this, and let's go back to the hoverboard. So now we can implement the exit functionality. Okay, so to implement this, let's add the input here in the hoverboard blueprint. So just right click and type IA interact. Just type the name of the action that you created. So for me is this one here, and this will only fires if the player controller is controlling this blueprint here. So it's fine to put here. So first, I want to see if we have a valid reference here in the current driver, just to make sure. So let's get a reference to the current driver. Let's right click on this and just select convert to validated get. Let's click on this and let's connect from the completed pin here like this. And there we go. If this is valid, we will proceed. Okay, so first we need to detach the character from the hoverboard. So to do this, let's drag from the current driver and let's type detach. And here in the transformation category, we have detach from actor. Let's click on this node here. And here, as you can see, we have the target, which is the current driver, and we have location rule, rotation rule, and scale rule. So for all these three options here, we will put keep word. So just change this to keep word like this. And this node will detach the character from any actor that the character is current attached, right? So in this case, the hoverboard. Okay, so now that we detached the character from the hoverboard, we need to set the location of the character to be the exit location. So to do this, let's drag from the current driver here and let's type set actor location. Let's select this one. Let me just connect the execution pin here and add some reroutes so we can organize this. To add those reroutes, you just need to double click on the line, right? So as you can see, this node asks for a new location, and this location is basically the exit location, this arrow here. So let's go back to the graph and let's drag this exit location here, and let's get the world location of this. So let's drag and type get world location. This one. There we go. So now we have the vector here. So just connect in the new location, and there we go. So basically, when we press E and we have a current driver, we will detach this driver from the hoverboard, and we will set the location of the driver to be the exit location, right? Okay, so now we need to start controlling the current driver again, so the character. So to do this, we need to get the player controller. So right click and type get player controller. And we need to possess again the character. So to do this, from the player controller, we can type possess. Let's connect the execution pin, and the PAL that we want to possess is the current driver. So let's just drag the current driver reference here and connect in the in PAL. So basically, again, when we press the E key and we have a current driver, we will detach the current driver from the hoverboard. We will set the location of the current driver to be the exit location, and then we will start controlling the current driver, right? Okay, so now we need to change back the movement mode of the character to walking, and we need to clear the current driver variable. So let's start by changing the mode here, the movement mode. So let's drag from the current driver and let's get the character movement. So just search for character movement. And again, in variables, we have get character movement. So let's click on this. And from this, we can set the movement mode. So just search for set movement mode. Let's get this one. Let's connect the execution pin. And then the new movement mode will be walking like this. Now we just need to clear the current driver. So just hold Alt on the keyboard and drag the variable to create a set node. Connect the execution pin, and there we go. We can leave the current driver empty. So this will set this variable to null. And there you go. This is basically it. Let's select everything here. Let's press C to comment, and I will comment exit vehicle like this. And there we go. Okay, now we have the ability to enter and exit the hoverboard. So now we just need to call this enter vehicle from the character. So let's do this now. Okay, so to do this, let's go back to the folders and let's navigate where we have the character. So for me, it is in blueprints, bases. Here I have the BP third person character. Let's open this and let's start implementing. So first we need a way to interact with things. So basically you will integrate this with your interaction system if you have one. But for the sake of this video, I will just use a sphere collision to interact with things in the world. So let's add a sphere collision to this. Let me just go to the viewport here, and let's here in components, let's add a new one. Let's type sphere collision. Let's add a sphere collision to this, and I will call this interaction area like this. So now I will increase the sphere radius here. Let's increase a little bit like this. So basically anything inside this sphere I will be able to interact with, right? So let's compile and save, and now let's implement the events. And again, if you have an interaction system, use the interaction system to enter in the vehicle. Don't use the vehicle interface for that. Use the vehicle interface for other things, but to interact with the vehicle, use your interaction system, right? But again, for the sake of this tutorial, I will just use this sphere as a simple interaction system, right? Okay, so now let's create an event when something starts to overlap this sphere. So to do this, select the interaction area, so this sphere here, and in details scroll down until we find the events. And here, as you can see, we have the on component begin overlap. Let's click on the plus here so we can implement. And basically, this will fire wherever it starts to overlap this sphere. And here we have the other actor. This is the actor that starts to overlap this sphere, right? So like we did in the hoverboard, that we have a reference to the current driver, I want to have a reference to the vehicle in the character as well. So here in the variables, let's create a new one, and I will call this current vehicle to current vehicle like this, and the type of this will be actor. So just search for actor here and select object reference like this. So now we need to set this with the current vehicle, but first we need to check if this actor here is a vehicle. So to do this, we need to ask if this actor implements the vehicle interface. So to do this, just drag from the actor and type does implement interface, this one, does object implement interface. Let's click on this, and here as you can see we have the interface to select here. So let's just click and search for BPI vehicle, and we have here. So basically we are asking if this actor implements this interface, and we have a boolean here. So let's connect this in a branch and connect the execution pin. And as you can see, we have the true or false here. So basically, if this is true, that means that this object that starts overlapping this sphere is a vehicle. So in this case, I want to set this actor in the current vehicle here. So let's hold Alt on the keyboard and drag this variable to create a set node. And if this is true, let's connect from the true here. We want to set this other actor as the current vehicle. So let's drag this and connect here. Let me just add a reroute, and there we go. This is basically it. Okay, so now let's select the interaction area, and again in the details, let's scroll down until we find the events, and now let's override the on component and overlap. So let's click on the plus here. And in this case, if the object that ends overlapping is a vehicle, I want to clear this current vehicle here. So again, let's use this does object implement interface. Let's copy this node here. Let's connect the other actor as the test object, and the interface select the BPI vehicle if not is not already. And again, let's do a branch here. Let's connect from the execution pin. And if this is true, I want to clear this current vehicle. So let's hold Alt and drag to create a set node. Let's connect from the true, and we can leave this empty. So this will set the variable as null, right? And this is basically it. Let me just select everything here and press C to comment, and I will comment interaction area. Something like this, and there we go. Let's compile and save. Okay, so now that we know if we are close to a vehicle, let's deal with the interaction itself. So basically when we press E on the keyboard, right? So here in the third person character event graph, let's right click and type IA interact. So we have the event here. So basically when we press E on the keyboard, this will fire. And if this fire, I want to know if we are close to a vehicle, and we can do this with the current vehicle variable. So let's get a reference to this, and let's convert this to a validated get. So let's right click and go to convert validated get like this. Let's connect from the completed pin in the IA interact here. Let's connect. And basically, if this is valid, that means that we have a current vehicle. And if it's not valid, that means that we don't have a current vehicle. And because of this system here, that means that we are close to a vehicle or not, right? So basically, if this is valid, that means that we are pressing E on the keyboard and we are close to a vehicle, so we want to enter the vehicle. So to do this, we have the interface, right? The BPI vehicle. So from this current vehicle reference here, we can drag and type enter vehicle. This one here, the interface function. And there we go. This is basically it. So basically when we press the E key on the keyboard and we have a current vehicle, so we are close to a vehicle, we will try to enter the vehicle, right? And there we go. Let's select everything here and I will press C to comment and I will comment here interacting. And again, if you have an interaction system, just integrate this enter vehicle here with your interaction system and you may have an interaction interface as well. So do the enter vehicle in the interaction interface and not in the BPI vehicle interface, right? So let's compile and save. And now if we test this should work. So let's try. Okay, so let's go back to the map so we can test this. And of course, we need to put the hoverboard in the world. So let's go to the hoverboard folder and let's drag the BP hoverboard in the world and let's hit play to test this. So if I get close to the hoverboard and if I press E, we should be in the hoverboard, and we are. But let's press F8 so I can show you this. So as you can see, the character is in the hoverboard, but the camera is not right. As you can see, we are inside the character. So let me show you why this is happening. So basically, let's go to the hoverboard here so I can show you. So in the hoverboard, we have the camera, as you can see, and this camera is in a spring arm. And by default, here in the spring arm, the do collision test is set to true, so the camera can adjust to make the character be always in the screen, right? But in this case, the character, this collision test is hitting the character and we don't want that. So let's go to the character. So the third person character, let me go to the view so you can see. This is the character blueprint. And here let's select the capsule component, this one. Let's scroll down until we find the collision here. Let's expand the collision presets. Let's expand this and let's change this from PAL to custom here. And here in the camera, let's click on ignore. So basically, the camera, the do collision test will ignore this capsule, and we need to do the same for the mesh as well. So select the mesh, scroll down until we see the collision. Let's just find collision here, and there we go, collision presets. Let's expand this. Let's change from character mesh to custom, and again here in camera, let's set to ignore. Let's compile and save. And now if we test this again, let's hit play to see. If we get close to the hoverboard and if we press E, there we go. Now we are in the hoverboard and the camera is correct, right? So now I just want to move the camera with the mouse, and to do this is really simple because we already have events for that in the third person. So let's go to the third person here, event graph. If we go up here, as you can see, we have camera input. We just need to copy this. So let's select everything here. Let's copy, let's go to the hoverboard in the event graph and let's paste here. So basically paste here somewhere, and there we go. This will work. Let's compile and save. Let's again go to the map and hit play to test this. If you get close and press E, we enter in the hoverboard, and now we can move the camera. And I'm pressing the keys here to try to move the character, and I'm not moving because now we are controlling the hoverboard, and for now we don't have functionality to move the hoverboard. But all we did in this video is working. So basically we are entering the hoverboard, and now if we press E again, we exit the hoverboard, as you can see. So basically we can enter and exit, as you can see. And this is basically it for this video. I think it's too long already, so we will continue on the next one. So now basically we can enter the hoverboard and we can exit, as you can see. So everything is working. So this is basically it. If you do like this video, please hit the like button and subscribe. This helps me a lot. And don't forget to turn on the bell notification so you don't lose any new content. And now we have members on the channel, so if you want to support me on making these videos, feel free to do so. I appreciate you. And as always, thank you for watching. Keep learning. I'll see you in the next video.